I tried to unlock my door and ended up face down on the pavement. Why? Because I had a key. Because I'm black. Marcus Bell, a 33-year-old black graphic designer, was moving into his new downtown apartment. It was evening. The sky was darkening as he arrived at the building entrance, juggling a few boxes and his apartment key. He was exhausted, but happy. As he turned the key in the lock, a faint creak echoed from upstairs. An elderly white woman cracked open her door. She glanced down at Marcus with suspicion, said nothing, and shut her door firmly. Seconds later, she was dialing emergency services. "Hello, police? There's a suspicious black man forcing open a door in our building. He doesn't belong here." Marcus was still fumbling with the key when the sirens began to wail. A police cruiser skidded to a stop outside. Two white officers jumped out and ran straight toward him. No questions, no greetings. "Show us your hands! Get on the ground! Now! Wait! I live here! I have a key!" Marcus shouted, but it didn't matter. One officer slammed into him from behind, knocking him to his knees. The other pushed him face down onto the ground and yanked his arms behind his back for the cuffs. One of them spat out a curse. "What are you even doing here, huh? This neighborhood ain't for people like you." Marcus's phone fell to the pavement. The screen was still lit. His video call was still live. On the other end, his mother's voice cracked through the speaker. "Marcus! Marcus! What's happening?" But he couldn't answer. Only the sound of his breath, crushed under cold concrete, remained. Marcus's mother was on a video call with him. As the screen suddenly tilted and hit the floor, he heard shouts, the click of handcuffs, heavy breathing. She leaned closer and shouted into the phone. "What are you doing to my son? This is his house. He just moved in. He has a key. Please don't hurt my son." But the cops couldn't hear him, and Marcus couldn't speak. His voice was lost under the pressure. The neighbors watched in frozen silence from their windows, and some of them were happy about it. One of the officers kicked Marcus's boxes. The other pressed a knee to his back and began searching his pockets. "Let's see what we have here. Fake ID? Drugs? Or another fake address? I'm pretty sure you're going to lie." Tears welled up in Marcus's eyes. "Just my key," he whispered. One of the officers scoffed. "Just because you have a key doesn't mean you live here. Criminals carry keys too, and I think you are one of them." Meanwhile, the video call continued to be recorded. His mother recorded every second, her trembling hands, her voice shouting at the screen. His last words, raw and cutting. "This is racism, and you all know it." Marcus sat in the back of the police car, looking out the window. One of the moving boxes had been left on the sidewalk. It was written on it with a felt-tip pen, "Welcome home." But in a city where his skin spoke louder than his words, his first welcome was a slap in the face. The interrogation room was as cold as its gray walls and the sticky, scratched-up table. Though Marcus's handcuffs had been removed, he still sat with his hands clasped in front of him. No lawyer, no one asking if he wanted water, just two white officers standing across from him. Even the flickering yellow light overhead felt as harsh as the questions about to come. One officer leaned against the edge of the table. The other slumped into the chair across from Marcus, smirking before asking a single thing. "So, tell me, which window did you break into this time?" Marcus lifted his head slowly. His eyes were firm, but tired. "I was unlocking my front door, with my key." The officer burst into laughter. "Oh sure, the 'I have a key' story. We've heard that one. They all just moved in. They all have rental contracts." Marcus pulled a crumpled lease agreement from his jacket. The officer didn't even touch it. He turned to his partner and chuckled. "Look at that. Photoshop skills. Guess forgery's the new hustle." The second officer leaned in, voice low and laced with poison. "Guys like you move in, and suddenly the crime rate spikes. Property values drop. Families leave. Then we're left to clean up." Marcus's heartbeat quickened. It wasn't fear. It was something else. A fire he couldn't name. He turned his head slightly and saw his phone still vibrating inside his jacket pocket. The video call was still active. His mother was watching. Every word, every insult, every slap. It was all being recorded. And then, smack. A loud, stinging slap shattered the silence. One officer sneered, "Rich black boys always think they're actors. Let's see how you perform now." Marcus didn't flinch. He closed his eyes. He didn't speak. He just breathed. From behind the door, a voice echoed. "Marcus Bell's attorney is here." Camille Ross entered the room. Young, sharp, and composed. Her presence shifted the air instantly. She placed a tablet on the table. On the screen, the live video feed from Marcus's mother. Clear, loud, uninterrupted. For the first time, the officers looked shaken. Marcus raised his head and smiled. This time, he wouldn't stay silent. This time, there was proof. There was truth. And he wasn't alone anymore. The courtroom was packed. Marcus's family sat in the front row. His mother clutched her phone tightly, holding the live stream video files like they were sacred. His attorney, Camille Ross, walked confidently to the podium. Across the aisle sat the 3 white officers and their legal team. The tension in the room was thick, almost physical. Camille leaned into the microphone and delivered the words that would define the hearing. "We are not here to judge a crime, but a reflex." A black man was tackled, mocked, and beaten for trying to enter his own home. Why? Because of the color of his skin. Then, the screen lit up. Video from Marcus's mother's live call began to play, police shouting and charging at Marcus without asking a single question, forcing him to the ground with violent curses, a brutal slap across his face, and worst of all, "You don't belong in this neighborhood." The room froze. The judge removed his glasses and watched the footage in silence. The defense claimed the videos were manipulated, but Camille presented timestamps, GPS data, and raw footage directly from Marcus's phone. This wasn't an isolated clip. It was a documented reality. The judge slowly nodded, then turned to the prosecutor. "Do you see a threat in that video, or a reflex that crushes justice?" Silence hung in the air. And in that silence, no one could deny the truth anymore. Camille placed her hand on Marcus's shoulder. "For once," she whispered, "we didn't come to court just to speak. We came to show." Marcus closed his eyes. There was no turning back now. This wasn't just a defense. It was a reckoning. Judgment Day. The courtroom was overflowing. Journalists, activists, politicians, citizens, everyone was there. Camille stood to deliver her closing statement. The silence was so deep, you could hear hearts pounding. Policing is not a privilege. It's a responsibility. Those who abuse it must be held accountable. Marcus Bell didn't break the law. He broke a stereotype, and for that he was punished. But what if the camera hadn't been rolling? What if there had been no footage? How many stories go unheard simply because no one was watching? The judge, calm but firm, delivered the decision. Defendant Marcus Bell is fully acquitted. The officers involved are found guilty of abuse of authority. They are hereby removed from duty and placed under formal investigation. The law enforcement agency in question will undergo an internal audit for systemic bias. Applause erupted in the room. Some cried. Marcus bowed his head, not in shame, but in relief. His eyes welled, but he didn't cry. Instead, he turned to Camille and gave a subtle nod. This was no longer just his story. Outside the courthouse, microphones surged forward, but it was Marcus's mother who stepped up first. "My son used a key. That was his crime. Today, we proved he was right. But how many others had no footage, no proof, and simply disappeared into the system? It's time we speak for them too. Trying to enter your home isn't a crime, but racism still goes unpunished. And without cameras, the truth is still silenced.